Sometimes the basic monsters become really, well, basic. And when people want to dive into a new fantasy book or a game, having the same dragon doesn't really feel the same after they've seen it over and over again. Now, there are ways to repossess the dragon or repossess the unicorn to make it look different and act different, but to any fantasy connoisseur, they will quickly realize, oh, it's just another dragon, or oh, it's just another unicorn. So the best way to do it is to start from scratch. But not everybody can make a monster from scratch. I know I can't. It's not as easy as it seems. There are ways you can make a monster from scratch, but it's mostly the Frankenstein method, where you take a bunch of different monsters or just two monsters and bash the same elements together and you're like stitching them to make something new. It's doable and it works, but it's very crude and it's very fast. But if you want something that's unique to you, that really gives your fantasy world that uniqueness that you wanted to have, it's best to just start from scratch. So I will show you how I start from scratch. The first thing you're going to do when you're creating a monster is know what the setting is. Where would you want this monster to be? What is the monster based off of? What type of monster is it? Is it a reptile? Is it a mammal? Is it an amphibian? Those things matter. So starting off, you need those points to be known. For my fantasy world, I want to have this monster in a land that's inspired by African mythology and African culture. So my setting is checked off. Now, what is the monster based off of? I want to do something like a dragon or like a wyvern, which is like a lizard in the water. So I know whatever I want to do, I want it to be a reptile. I want it to be something that swims in the water. Those two things alone complete everything I need to. That's my basis. So now I can start to do research. So first off, since I know I wanted to make a African monster or a monster based off of African culture, I look at African monsters. And where do I go? Wikipedia. God bless you. You are amazing. I use Wikipedia for everything. Every single thing in the book. So as I was scrolling through Wikipedia, trying to find African mythology monsters, I ran into something called the Groot Sling. The Groot Sling is like a elephant serpent kind of thing. The reason I chose the Groot Sling was because it caught my eye. A lot of creating starts with what seems cool to you, what catches your eye, whether it makes sense or not. If you seem interested in it, take a dive, see what you can find, see what can help you create this monster. And that's what the Groot Sling did for me. As I was reading the information about the Groot Sling, I learned a few things. One is that the Groot Sling lives in like a cave called the Wonder Hole or the Bottomless Pit. So from there, I'm like, okay, Bottomless Pit / Wonder Hole, that sounds really cool. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm going to make a note on that because maybe somehow I can use the Bottomless Pit to help create the monster later on. The Bottomless Pit is connected to this Orange River. The Orange River is a natural pipe in Africa. But you know what was cool? That's a cool name to me, so I'm going to take it. I'm going to add that as another note. Okay, the Orange River. I want my monster to be in the water, so why not have him be in a Orange River? So as I start to research on the Orange River, I start to see something called the Pale River, which is the Vow River, which is like it's supposed to be the opposite of it. I'm not entirely sure, but another cool name. So now I have two different rivers, the Orange River and the Pale River. I don't know what I want to do with them, but my setting and the names of my oceans are there. So I can put that to the side and maybe use that for inspiration later. So with my settings done, I go back to the Groot Sling, see what else I can learn that might interest me, what's going to catch my eye. Another thing that catches my eye is that the Groot Sling physically has the appearance of an elephant with like large tusks, legs, etc. But what catches my eye this time is that the Groot Sling is described to have diamonds in its eye socket. Oh, that's kind of cold. That's kind of fire. So another thing I'm adding, diamonds in the eye sockets. Maybe diamonds can be of use somehow. Or maybe I can make something cool with his eyes, like an ability or something like that. Either way, it's another note that I like. I'm going to put it on hold for later. And now since I'm already on the physical appearance of the Groot Sling, of my monster, I'm going to learn more about it. since I want my monster to be a serpent, I want it to be like a half dragon thing, like a wyvern. And with the Gruslang being like an elephant is big. I don't want my monster to be a elephant or something like that, but I could find it in between. I like that it's big. So instead of my monster being like a wyvern, let's make it like a whale. And now I'm wondering, okay, I still want the dragon-like aspect, so it needs scales. But I want to keep it a little bit realistic. I want some scientific backup to it. So I start to look up reptilians that have scales. And after a good amount of research, I found the armadillo lizard. Its scales are made of creatine, which is like nails. That is pretty cool to me, and it made me wonder what other reptiles may have creatine in their bodies. A crocodile head has a very, very dense skull. That's why its upper mouth is so hard, but everything else on its body is soft. It has creatine in its scales. It's very light, but it's mostly the skulls. I like the fact that the crocodile has a bigger skull, which helps for defense, unlike the armadillo, who has scales that help for defense. I like both of those, so I'm going to keep both of those and add it to its appearance. So now we have a whale-like monster with scales, but also big bones, which compensate for it being so big like a whale. And then if we add in the note that we got earlier of the diamonds in its eye socket, why not make it diamond-like scale? But not in the sense of it looking super shiny, but more in the sense of like, it makes it elegant. It makes it more valuable. It makes it rare. You see? We're getting there. So now that its physicality is done, we know what we want it to look like. What is it? Is it aggressive? Is it defensive? How does it act in this setting? How does it act in this water? So that makes me wonder, how do fish act aggressively and defensively? So I look at a bunch of videos on YouTube, defensive animals and aggressive animals, and I learned how some animals are semi-aggressive, which is like when they're stressed or under conditions that make them aggressive, mainly from being territorial. Like fish in fish tanks, they don't like other fish going in their side of the wall. I like that because I don't want my monster to be just killing people non-stop. I want it to be chill. But I can make it a little semi-aggressive by making it have a territory. And what's another thing that we already set up? The Orange and the Pale River. So why not make its territory the Orange River? And it gets aggressive when threats try to invade his territory, the Orange River. So we have his setting, we have his physicality, and we have his nature. But I'm not really set on the design. I feel like it could be a little better than just a scaled like whale, because I still want it to be like a dragon. So then I get stumped. Whenever you're stumped, my biggest advice is to always just type in the dumbest thing you could think of. Whatever is in your head, go for it. For instance, I want to keep the elephant and a dragon aspect. So how do I do that? I literally looked up elephant dragon, and here's what showed up. And just like that, I have two different images that resemble what I would want my monster to look like. Now it's not just an image in my head, but it's something I can base off of and look at. Now it's in arm's reach. I think it's always good to just throw out words. If you get stumped or don't know what to put in, you have an idea of what you want, why not just put that idea out there? There is no way in the world you are the first to do it. That's just a fact. There's too many people. So more than likely, you typing in horn, unicorn, leg, you're gonna get something like that. I can almost promise you. There is not many things left that is like super original. So why not use what you can to make something of your own? You combine and you create. That's what we do. We get inspired. We learn from others. That's how creation works. That's how we are able to make so many unique things, because even though there isn't many original things left, you colliding two unique things, creating your own original piece, is what makes that original. It's what makes that unique. And that's what we're doing here. So right now it looks like our monster is done. We don't have a name for it yet, but we know what it wants to look like. This is when my creative gears started turning, so I kept going. Because I found two images and I liked both of them. Why not make two of them? And why did I think of making two of them? We have the Orange River and the Pale River. I want to use both of those. So instead of just having one monster, let's have two monsters. And the easy way to identify them is the fact that this one looks more like a dragon with wings, and this one looks more like a land-ish animal. I'm not sure. We have two different ones that are the same species. They both have different territories, the Orange River and the Pale River. So now I want to make some history, some lore behind them. Why are they separated? Why do they look different? Why are they territorial? So I start to think of other monster rivalries, and I literally look up monsters, like unique monsters that like combat each other. And one thing I run into is Leviathan, Ziz, and Behemoth. And I do some research on why these three monsters are connected. The three monsters represent land, water, and sky. But for dummies like me, I'm like, okay, why does that connect them together? So I literally look up, why is land connected to water and the sky? And lo and behold, it gives me an answer. We have heaven and hell, and land is what connects the two, which is why the three monsters are connected. So with that information, I go back to the Orange River and the Pale River. I make the Orange River hell, and I make the Pale River heaven. And I also do this because of the colors. When I say the Orange River is hell, that means the Orange River is much more chaotic. It has other monsters fighting. You have to fight and be angry and be monstrous. Which is why the monster in the Orange River has transformed, has adapted. His body has become different. It has more armor, has more tusk. It is ready to fight for its territory. Unlike in the Pale River, it's much more calmer. People can go fish there. So this monster has been living peacefully for centuries without many other monsters trying to invade or be aggressive to it. So therefore, it has had no reason to adapt, no reason to alter its physicality. And now that I have enough information, I decide to make lore, real lore between the two. Both of the monsters were like siblings, like twins. They looked exactly the same. There was not much of a difference. Because of some crazy event like a meteor in the dinosaur age or some crazy event separated the two monsters from each other. One went to the Pale River and one went to a more dangerous river, the Orange River. The monster that went to the Orange River had to fight to be alive. It has so many battle scars and had no choice but to adapt his body over generations to keep control. While the other monster in the Pale River continued to live the same life it already did. Nothing too much different other than a little bit more fights, but not enough for you to have to change your body, not enough for you to adapt. And now the humans of the islands around these monsters, through time, began to trade with each other and share stories. And then the legend of both of these monsters became real. People realized that these two monsters are the same, just different. They are natural enemies. If they ever meet, it's going to be a brawl. And just like that, we have lore for our monsters. So now, let's give these monsters a name. So first, I'm going to use the inspiration I got, the Groot Sling. What does Groot Sling mean? I look it up. Groot Sling is Dutch for big snake. What I do is I look for some names in Dutch. I look up large snake, then I look up big dragon, then I look up snake dragon, but none of the names in Dutch are making me be like, yes, that's the one. So I go for a different route. I look up the African language. What was the original African language and what did they call diamonds? Since our monsters have diamonds all over them, why not give them a name based off of that? And then I find out before the Greek influence, diamond in the African Tiwi language was called Ihome, Ahemo. One of those three ways is the correct way to say it. And it means royal gem. So now I have Ahemo. I'm going to say Ahemo. I like Ahemo. I could say big Ahemo or Ahemo snake. I still want to keep that two words combined aspect. So now I'll go back to the Groot Sling and see what else I can find name-wise. Groot Sling is actually inspired off of the Mokele Mbebe. Right there, I'm like, okay, hold on. Since the Groot Sling was inspired by the Mokele Mbebe, and my monster is inspired by the Groot Sling, why not put some more homage? But then I finally have the two names. So the monster in the Orange River is called the Mokele Ahemo. The monster in the Pale River is called the Mbebe Ahemo. Just like that, we have 2 big whale-sized dragon monsters with diamond skin. And now I have 2 original monsters in my sea. And that is how you make monsters. Just to recap everything, you don't have anything without inspiration. Look up some mythology, or maybe you watched a movie on Frankenstein, or maybe you watched a Maze Runner and saw those spider-like creatures. There should be something that made you be like, I would like to make something like this. You find that and go with that. Next off, research that thing. What is it inspired off of? What is it based off of? You might find something cool that like piques your interest. You should always go with your gut. If you see something like large sky, and for some reason that piques your interest, follow that. Why is it called the large sky? Where did it get its name from? You might find cool keynotes that you can implement into your monster later. Third, physicality. What do you want the monster to look like? Why do you want it to look like that? Is there any reasons for it? Maybe the keynotes can help you find that. The keynotes are your bread and butter. You can't go anywhere without it. Whatever you find cool, use that. It is your monster. What you like is what you like. So don't be afraid to use it. And then you can make something really original and something really unique. When it comes to names, I feel like you should always do a combination of the old language, or whatever the monster you were inspired by of, and then something you might see that's cool, right? I use the old language of Dutch and the old language of Africa, but I still kept the formality of having big snake and combine them together. And that is how you make a monster. Hopefully this helps. And if you guys make up any monsters, I would love to see them. Put them in the comments, share them, send them to me. I would love to see them. I will have another video out on my monsters soon, so just stay tuned. Thank you.